Rage Against the Machine are one of the most influential bands of all time, influencing a lot of nu metal and bringing rap rock into the mainstream. They wrote mainly protest songs about the government in their 9 years together before they broke up in 2000. In those 9 years, they recorded 4 studio albums and became one of the most influential and biggest bands of the time. In this video, we will go over all of their albums, including live albums and demos. Enjoy! Rage Against the Machine's first album, a demo of their self-titled release, Rage Against the Machine, was recorded in August and September 1991 at Sunbirth Studios in North Hollywood, California. It was released on tape in December of 1991, and they would sell it at their concerts. The tracks included many tracks that ended up being on their self-titled release, like Bomb Track, Bullet in the Head, Know Your Enemy, Killing in the Name, and Freedom, as well as some other tracks that were not included on their self-titled release, like Auto Logic, Darkness of Greed, and The Narrows. The album art features a bunch of articles in a collage form with a singular match strapped above them. The album has a length of 57 minutes and 51 seconds, and it was the first official Rage Against the Machine release that people could buy. Rage Against the Machine's first official studio album was their self-titled release, Rage Against the Machine. The album was released by Epic Records on November 3rd, 1992, and was slow to gain popularity, but following a series of performances at Lollapalooza in 1993, including their naked protest against the PMRC, their popularity began to soar, with the record selling over 3 million copies worldwide by 1996. The album also reached number 45 on the Billboard 200 in the US and number 17 on the UK albums chart. The album's popularity mainly came from the single Killing in the Name, which got lots of radio airplay and peaked at number 1 on the UK singles chart in 2009 after a campaign to not let her song from the show The X Factor win the Christmas number 1 title. Some other singles from this album include Bullet in the Head, Bomb Track, and Freedom. Although Rage Against the Machine's original album is often regarded as their best album, it wasn't until their second album, Evil Empire, until their popularity really started to grow throughout the world. People come up. Rage Against the Machine's second studio album, Evil Empire, was released on April 16, 1996, once again by Epic Records. Though the album put them in a much better spot in terms of popularity, it's probably the album out of their 3 main studio albums that gets talked about the least. It was, however, the album that put Rage on the map and greatly increased their popularity. The album sold over 249,000 copies in its first week and has since been certified triple platinum. The song Tire Me also won a Grammy for the Best Metal Performance in 1996. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and peaked at number 4 on the UK albums chart. The biggest single off this album, Bulls on Parade, got a lot of radio airplay and peaked at number 1 on the UK rock and metal singles chart. The 2 other singles off this album are People of the Sun and Vietnam. While Bulls on the Parade is really only a huge hit off this album, it still played a huge role in putting Rage on the map and getting them known around the world. Rage Against the Machine's third studio album, The Battle of Los Angeles, was released on November 2nd, 1999, once again by Epic Records. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 420,000 copies in its first week, which is almost double the amount of copies Evil Empire sold in its first week. The most successful single off the album, Guerilla Radio, peaked at number 1 on the UK rock and metal singles chart. The album has since been certified double platinum in the US. Speaking of singles, one of the other 2 singles off the album, Sleep Now in the Fire, shut down the New York Stock Exchange for the first and only time in its history. This happened when Rage Against the Machine played right outside the Stock Exchange building the day after the city of New York said they couldn't. They also filmed this performance for their music video, ended up causing a riot, and made the Stock Exchange close its doors. The only other single off the album, Testify, got a decent amount of airplay on radio stations, but seeing as the single wasn't released until 2000, it wasn't the biggest song off the album. Seeing as this was the last time Rage wrote original music, they definitely went out with a bang, as the Battle of Los Angeles is one of their best albums critically and commercially. Rage's final studio album, the cover album Renegades, was released on December 5th, 2000, just a couple months after Rage announced they would be breaking up. The record was once again released by Epic Records. Renegades is officially Rage's worst performing studio album, but was still certified platinum only about a month after it was released. The album still received great reviews from critics and was able to land a number 17 spot on the Billboard 200. The two singles off the album, Renegades of Funk and How Could I Just Kill a Man, performed pretty well, with Renegades of Funk being the biggest of the two, landing a number 9 spot on the US Billboard Hot 100. The album was the only Rage album to not be accompanied by a tour, but they did play a few songs off the album live at their shows in 2000. Even though Renegades was Rage's last studio album, they still have released some live albums since that we'll talk about next. Rage Against the Machine has released 4 live albums: Live at the Grand Olympic Auditorium, The Battle of Mexico City, Live at the 2000 Democratic National Convention, and Live and Rare. Live and Rare was the first of these to be released, being released in 1998 by Sony Music Japan. In 1998, however, it was only available on CD in Japan, first becoming available on vinyl in the US and Europe in 2018, and then digitally released for the first time in 2022. The album contains many live performances from various shows in 1993, 1996, and 1995. It also includes some, quote, official bootlegs, unquote, and 2 demo recordings from their 1991 self-titled demo. Their next live album, Live at the Grand Olympic Auditorium, was released in 2003, a few years after the band's breakup, and was released on vinyl and as a DVD. It is a recording of the last 2 shows Rage ever played before their initial breakup, which they did at the Grand Olympic Auditorium in their hometown of Los Angeles, California. The album was actually able to land a number 94 spot on the US Billboard 200, which is pretty impressive for a live album. Rage's next live album, Live at the 2000 Democratic National Convention, doesn't have a lot of info online, mainly because it doesn't have a Wikipedia page. What I do know is that it was released in 2018 for Record Store Day and includes 6 tracks from their show at the 2000 Democratic National Convention in Los Angeles, California. These 6 tracks was not the full performance, but full performance videos are easily able to find on YouTube. Their final live album, The Battle of Mexico City, was never really a live album at all. In fact, for 20 years, it was just a DVD until it was released on vinyl in 2021 by Epic Records, and is also now available on digital streaming services like Apple Music. It is a live recording of their show in Mexico City in 1999, and the DVD also includes a mini documentary that is weaved in between song footage. So there you have it. We've just gone over every single Rage Against the Machine live, studio, and demo album. I hope you enjoyed this video because it took a lot of time, almost 2 days to make, and I had to write scripts and do a ton of research. So I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button or even just the like button just to show me that you enjoyed the video. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.